Hello and welcome back to the Irish Mammy channel. Today we're potting on mostly herbs and I want to give a few little updates as well. So it's a windy day outside, lovely and sunny, but windy and cold actually, so I'm going to hide away in the greenhouse, get a few jobs done. So first I want to do a little look through my propagator. It's looking very lush and green and I can even see weeds growing in there. I'm actually mortified. But you can see all my squash plants in there. I think I have every plant germinated. Oh, I was going to say bar one, but I see that's even starting maybe there. Marina di Chioggia, that's the last one to come up. But yeah, germination in every single pot. Some of them need thinning out. Some of them will be potted on. I'll make that decision as I go along. And herbs and more herbs. So that's mint there, that's my lovely Egyptian mint, and you can see now I was talking about a lovely fuzzy kind of leaf, nice and thick and fuzzy, almost like a sage leaf, and it smells delicious. Lots of basil there. These are my cucumber plants, they need thinning and I'll be planting them in the next few days in the polytunnel. And look at that lovely thistle sticking in there, and a nettle. So yeah, these are getting quite thick. I can't remember even half of what I've sown. Sage, oregano, more mint, and then I have my small tomatoes, my, what are they, tumbling tom, and these are my leeks. So this will be my second planting of leeks. These are Giant d'Inverno. So these will be my overwintering leeks, hopefully. Oh yeah, and I can't forget my sweet corn update. So if you remember, I done 2 trays of sweet corn. These are actually quite dry, they could do with a bit of water at the minute. So just the update, this side was the ones that were soaked. Just double check that I have that right, but I did label them. Soaked, yeah. And this other tray were not soaked, and honestly the soaked ones are a little bit taller, so they're maybe a little bit ahead. Germination wise, I don't notice any difference. So I think it's safe to say now that the difference in germination rate with sweet corn is certainly whether it's fresh seed or not. I think that's evidenced from this experiment anyway, and that's what I'm going to go with in the future. I'm going to make sure I order my sweet corn seed fresh. I think my thinking before was it can sometimes be hard to get a hold of it, and even this year it was out of stock for ages, so it took a while to actually get my seed into stock. So I do try and prepare the year before, and I do that with a lot of my seeds. Actually, I will order at the end of the season, just so I'm sure I have it for the next season. But I'm starting to learn that maybe that's not the best idea with certain vegetables. So I can say sweet corn is definitely one of those. Parsnips will be another, onions and spring onions. Although onions and spring onions, I think you get maybe 12 to 18 months out of them where they'll germinate fine. But certainly wouldn't want them any older than that. Now I'm going to give a few outside updates while I can, in between showers. The sun is out at the minute and we'll see this garden warts and all. So this is my spinach bed. I'm going to start at the back here. These were seeds I sowed. So I sowed annual spinach, which is this side, and I sowed perpetual spinach over here. If you remember, I covered it up to try and keep the dog out. So this is the perpetual spinach that I sowed, but then the dog did get in, even with the fleece on it. She still managed to jump up on it and dig around the place. So I had some perpetual spinach sowed in module trays, so I planted that in there after. There's some of the sown seed coming up then in between. So we'll just have a big harvest of perpetual spinach. And this annual spinach, it's spotty enough germination because of the dog, I'd say, as well, but I'll soon be able to pick a small harvest from that. Over here is my strawberries. I had them covered over. If you remember, I had bloodfish and bone spread on top of them. They're starting to get a little bit of growth, a little bit, well, 1 or 2 flowers, but nothing major yet. And I've had problems with these strawberries not producing a whole lot before, so hopefully the bit of fertiliser will help them come along and produce a bit more this year. This bed I have done nothing with yet. I still have strawberries there waiting on a project. And this was my leaves bed, salad leaves. And of course the dog was very attracted to this one as well. So I have some of my Chinese or Oriental leaves up there, germinated fine. Down here I have a hole dug, so there's not much germinating there except a few weeds. But I have patchy leaves all over, and they're actually looking quite yellow, and I think they may need a nitrogen feed. All of my green leaves are looking pretty yellow, so I'm going to have to give them a liquid feed that's high in nitrogen, and I'll show you the one I'm going to use. And then, so this half of the bed I had sowed really old seeds in it, and with the dog getting into it I had no hope of any of them coming up, so I just planted leaves that I had already sown in modular trays, and again some of them looking a little bit yellow. They're supposed to be green, so I'm definitely giving this a feed. So I have packed, and we're kind of half in the shade and half in the sun here. So I have pak choi leaves there, 2 rows of chard, and then my mixed I think it's a gourmet mix that that's called, I'm not entirely sure. Then I planted onions over here. I have 2 beds of onions. This one's not quite full, but it's almost. I have nothing in this one yet. There's going to be carrots sown in this one, and there's going to be peas in this one over here, but you can see I have volunteer potatoes coming up every year. I get volunteer potatoes in this bed, so I'm going to have to dig them out this year and plant them somewhere else. This is my salad crop bed, I was calling it. So I have kohlrabies there. They were tiny when they were planted out from little plugs. They're coming on slowly but surely. And I have some lettuce here, and it's been eaten of course by slugs, I would imagine. Oh yeah, I actually hid the tags down here to keep the wee man away from them. So that's little leprechaun, the green one, and there's just 4 of those, and they'll be successionally sown all through the summer hopefully. And this one is little leprechaun. Well, now they're both the same, are they? No, little gem for the green ones and little leprechaun for the red ones. And you can see I have lots of plants hanging out here. Some's for my ornamental garden, and some are just plants I've no place for, and some are left over from last year that need to be thrown out. This is the second bed of onions. Again, they've not done a whole lot yet, but I'm sure we'll get there at some stage. So that's just a quick update on the beds outside. I'm in the middle of planting potatoes, or at least I have the beds ready for planting potatoes. Took a while to get round to that. So we took the plastic off, re-rotivated the ground, I topped it with compost, and I'm now ready to put the plastic back down, or the Mypex I should say, back down and get them planted. But just the weather, the way it's been this last couple of days, haven't got round to it yet. Hopefully by the weekend I will have it done, and that's my plan. A few little bits and pieces to get at. I want to sow flowers. Every year I have a great ambition to sow loads of flowers, but I don't want to do that until I have everything put away, sorted out, that I have here growing already. So I need to get my sweet corn planted. I need to get my herbs potted on. I have a couple of projects coming up with herbs over the next few weeks. What else do I want to do? Yeah, there's still a few seeds I have yet to sow. So I want to go through my list, organise all my seeds, make sure I've sown everything that needs to be sown at this point, vegetable wise. And I have some wading to do in the polytunnel. Yeah, I have quite a checklist to get on with over this week. So when I have all that done, then I will allow myself to start sowing flowers when I've not so much vegetables to worry about. So my polytunnel is well on the way. The tomatoes and peppers are planted. What else have I done? Green beans are in. Potatoes are almost ready to harvest in the polytunnel. Celery leeks are done. Yeah, so I still have to plant my squash, my sweet corn. My brassicas aren't actually planted out yet. That's another job, has to be done in the polytunnel. So I'll have quite a busy week. If I get it all done by the end of the coming weekend, I'll be doing well. So I had a busy weekend gone by. We had a little family occasion. And you know, when there's 6 of us in the house to be suited and booted, it takes quite a bit of time. So I worked around getting ready for that and getting my tomatoes and peppers planted. That was last week's chores. So this week, yeah, quite a long list, but we'll get there in the end. So I'm just going to start potting on herbs. I'll go through some of them as I go along. But actually first I need to make a bit of room around here so that I can actually work. There's too much stuff in the way. Okay, so I've just gathered up lots of different pot sizes there. I save pots from everything that I ever buy, and I've probably been given pots by people as well. I also have some of those trays just to stick the pots in. It leaves them easier to transport about the place. I have my soil filled up there as well. That's a pot and compost for herbaceous perennials. I always use Classman compost for my vegetables and herbs and anything edible. I'm not so fussy with flowers, but when it's edible I like to use the Classman organic compost. So we just have to get on with it now, get all these potted up. I have more pots than I need, I hope at least. So let's just get on with it. So the first plant I'm going to start with is my Egyptian mint. And like I said, this type is particularly fluffy leaved and thick, and they're great for crystallizing. Actually is one thing they're great for if you wanted to do crystallized mint leaves. Now some of these have multiple plants, some of these cells, and I'm just not sure how. Let's divide it out. So very easy, just stick your thumbs between the plants and pull them apart. Now I think there could be another 1 or 2 plants there. Will I chance it? Yeah. There we are, there's 3 plants, and I'm just going to put it in a small container because I don't want them getting out of hand on me if I get them passed on. Let somebody else worry about them. Okay, there's 1 mint. 2 to go. That one has much smaller root system on it, so hopefully it will survive, but I think it will. They're fairly resilient mint plants. They grow like a weed usually, so I would imagine this will too. Now, so I just want to bring you down a little bit closer to show you how I managed to divide these plants apart. So I'm going to go into, first of all, so there's several plants there. There's definitely one there, another one there, there's another one there at the back, That's another plant there. Yeah, there's about 4 or 5, so I'm going to divide it in 2 first of all. So I find a clear pathway through the cell, the soil, and just pull it apart like that. And then I take each of these sections and try and pull or tease the plants apart. Okay, so there's a clear plant there. There's several pieces coming out of the bottom of it, but it's all coming from the one base. So I'm going to try and divide that down now again. And there's another plant. And divide it out again. There's another plant. Just tease them apart. And I think that's all one plant there. So there's 3 plants so far. My other half has to be divided out. So there's a plant there. Pretty obvious that that's a plant on its own. Pull that apart. So there's 4 plants is the count now. And I think we might have 2 more. I'm just not so sure with this one. No, sorry, I think that's all one plant, so we're going to leave that as 1. So out of 1 cell I have 5 plants. Now, because that's bigger, I might just put that in a bigger pot, and that will be one I will keep for myself. Oh, we can hear the rain again now. Now I do also want to show you a little trick for encouraging plants to thicken out, or herbs especially, any of these annual type herbs. I don't actually have my secateurs with me, but I can use my fingers anyway. So I'm going to go down here and I'm actually going to pinch these out. So if you can see, try and get this a bit steadier first. So if you can see down here, there's these tiny little leaves or shoots coming out between the leaf and the main stalk. And if you actually pinch off this main stalk, those side shoots there will take off and grow really well and help the plant to bush out a bit more rather than one big long stalk. And when you're growing herbs, that's the preferable way for them to grow, is for them to actually bush out and produce more branches and therefore more leaves. So I'm just going to pinch this off with my finger and thumb. I would recommend usually using a secateurs, but since I don't have one to hand, oh wait, let's see now, I'm just getting these untangled a little bit. So I'm hoping that's quite clear there. And it's kind of like when I was talking about side shooting tomatoes. With tomatoes you want to remove side shoots, but with these we want to actually encourage them to grow. And this is true, you can do this with basil as well, it's a great help. No, it won't actually cut for me, I suppose. Mint is quite a tough stalk on it. No, there we are. So that's it, chopped down, and it will now encourage these little side shoots to bush out, and more branching will come from the bottom. And actually you can do it with these here too. And it's just called pinching out, and it's actually practice we normally do on a lot of flowers as well, just to encourage more blooms and more flowers. So I'm just going to take a look at that one. I might do that one too. So that'll just encourage it to bush out and give us more branches and more leaves, which is what we're looking for of these herbs, is more leaves. Okay, so there's the first herb planted on. 3 cells germinated out of 6, and I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plants. That's not a bad rate overall. I'm quite happy with that. Maybe I'll be needing all these pots after all. I'm going to get on with it. I'll stop at each one. The next one I'm going to do is parsley. I think this is curly parsley. I'm not entirely sure. I think it is. Okay, so I've been getting on, and I forgot to press the record button at one stage, so I have gotten 13 curly parsley plants altogether, 12 of them there, and I've one of them kept over there for myself, for my own collection. And then Greek basil was the next thing I did. I don't think that's on the camera at all. So I got 6 nice little ones there, and then I got one bigger one in a terracotta pot for myself. That's going to come inside. So Greek basil is very much the same as normal basil, except there's just much smaller leaves on it. It smells the same, tastes the same, and seems to be slightly hardier than the Italian basil. Italian basil doesn't do very well outdoors here unless it's really, really hot. So you'd be taking a chance planting it outdoors, whereas I feel like that Greek basil we might get away with planting it outside. I might try that this year and see how it goes, just as an experiment. So 3 herbs down, and still loads more to go. Doesn't look like I've made a dent in it, but however, we'll keep going. Oh, well, I have plenty of herbs behind me. Overall, very successful germination of my herbs, with one exception of the lime basil. So you might have noticed in that quick time lapse that I had lots of weed seeds. I knew I had some, but when I got into the trays I actually realised I had a heck of a lot more. So we're gardening by moonlight now. I had to take a quick break. It's mad how quick the afternoons go when you're trying to get something done, of course. So I had to break for dinner and get them all up to bed and all that kind of stuff, and came back out late evening here, starting to get dark. But I'm glad I have it done. Yes, I'll just give you a quick tour of the greenhouse, the state it's in now. Okay, so I hope everything's clear in this light, but basically there are herbs everywhere. My own personal stash over here. So some things like flatleaf parsley, very overtaken by weeds, so they don't look terribly healthy, but they should come on okay. Now my plan was to get this done earlier in the day, of course, and to get them outside to start hardening off. So that's not going to happen till tomorrow. I'll give them a very light water now because they're already shocking a bit. I don't want to completely shock them with cold water, but I will give them a little drink because some of them are a bit wilty and, you know, suffering from transplant shock, as they call it. So in at the back there I have some lovely basil plants, and the smell is just divine, and I only transplanted on half of my seedlings. I left the rest in the tray. They're just going to go straight into the ground up in the polytunnel all around my tomatoes. So that's my curly parsley. I think I've showed you that already. My oregano, no, this is peppermint. It is just a real overachiever altogether, but mint in general is. Whereas my rosemary is just tiny. So one of the cells I pulled a weed out and all the little seedlings had kind of got dislodged, so I've transplanted them separately in one pot, whereas the rest of them I just put the plug out and put it into the pot. So we'll see which does better, if it makes any difference at all. Lots of oregano, lots of sage. These are all my sage plants all the way down here. Now they don't look much at the minute, but I will be pricking out a lot of these, like you've seen me do with the, what did I do it with earlier on? The Egyptian mint, I think it was. So any of them that look scraggly, that will definitely only grow as one plant. My sage being one, my basil being one as well. I'll pinch that out, but I'll pinch that out as I harvest it. And the rosemary, if it ever gets big enough, I will be pinching it too to get it to bush out as well. But overall very happy. Now I didn't get touching the squash plants. That'll be another job for tomorrow. I didn't get transplanting these tomatoes, but honestly they're big enough at this stage where I could probably just put them straight into their big containers. We'll see. And then of course my leeks, I want to get them transplanted out as well. My thyme I put back into the propagator. It's very, very scraggly looking there. Once I pulled the weeds out of it, and look, I have another weed here I see too. It's a thistly, thorny one. So that's very weak looking at the minute. We'll see how that comes on now that it has a bit more room to breathe, but I may re-sow that. Now the propagator at this moment in time is not on, the heat's not on in it. I'd say the heat's off about a month or more in it. It's holding fairly well here in the greenhouse overnight. I see at the moment it's 11 degrees on the thermometer. So I'm imagining it's about 7-8 degrees outside. So too cold to be putting these plants out just yet, but the plan is to get them out to the she shed. So put them out for a couple of hours tomorrow. I'm going to give them all a good feed. So instead of just actually watering them, I'm going to give them a good high nitrogen liquid feed. I might just root that out now and show you what I'm giving them. Nice, so I hope that's clear. This is Maxicrop seaweed food, and it's their organic garden natural fertilizer. So they have this one, they also have one specifically for tomatoes, and they're the two feeds that I use, liquid feeds that I mainly use, just to give plants a little boost. And I'm going to put this as well on the lettuce outside that I showed you earlier, that's starting to look a bit nitrogen deficient. Now this is years old. I actually would rarely use this one. It's usually the tomato one I'm using, but for all these green leafy plants, they will need this one that's higher in nitrogen, whereas obviously the tomato feed is higher in potassium. But yeah, a little goes a long way. This has lasted me years, and the tomato one would last me maybe 2 seasons, 1 to 2 seasons out of the tomato, just depending on how many times I actually get around to feeding my tomatoes. So instead of just giving water tomorrow, I will give them a good feed of this. Now, when I say a good feed, I don't mean I'll not give it very strong. I'll actually probably dilute it more than the instructions say, just because these plants are so small. And they will have some food in the new compost that they're going into. And generally there's about 6 weeks feeding in compost in a new when they're put into potting compost. But just because some of these are scraggly and not very sturdy and strong, I'm just giving them a liquid feed that they'll absorb really fast, that just gives them a quick boost and hopefully strengthens them up and leaves them hardier for being outside. The other thing I might do with these is give them is treat them with slug pellets, because as soon as I put them out to the shed I'm calling it the she shed. So my my wooden shed next door is what I call, it's a hardening off shed. So it's done off with netting to keep butterflies and insects out and birds out, although it is falling down in places. And the plants can harden off out there, so they'll not get a lot of sunlight there. They'll only get the morning sun really. They're pretty shaded the rest of the day. So it's a good place to harden off plants and get them used to the outdoor temperatures. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for coming along while I'm doing these little jobs. Lots more little jobs to get ticked off the list now this week, and hopefully get my potatoes into the ground. And I know some people would think it's very late to have potatoes in the ground at this stage, but to be putting potatoes in the ground, but honestly it's always May before I get my potatoes in. And even though it was 1 year it was the first week of June. I always plant blight resistant varieties, so blight doesn't worry me in the slightest, and I have a very exposed site as well, so it's difficult for blight to take hold there because it's quite elevated and breezy, even in the height of summer. So yeah, getting lots ticked off the list this week hopefully, and next week we'll get to do the fun stuff. So flowers, I've had mixed success sowing flowers over the years, so we'll see. This will always be another experimental year, and we'll see how we get on. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.